Welcome to Footy Mailbag. My name is Damo, and our Track Watchers bonus episodes kick off with Dan Batten from the Geelong Advertiser and also Supercoach HQ to give us an update on the Geelong Cats and the Supercoach stories developing out of there. Thanks for joining me, Dan.
Good to be on. Yeah, the Cats are a bit more Supercoach relevant than might have been in previous years. Obviously got the second most owned player who I'm sure we'll get to and speak plenty about. But yeah, great to be on.
Let's start in the ruck. We've heard about Sam De Koning taking ruck reps in the match sims. We know they also have Reece Stanley, and there's an update on Toby Conway today as well, but he was also in the frame, and then they've got some young guys behind them, and then Mark Blitzarves as well, who can be used, but his role is a bit more fluid. What should we expect from Geelong in the ruck this season?
We'll expect the unexpected, as always is the case with the Cats, and especially in the ruck. We saw them throw Sam De Koning in there at the back end of last season. He also rucked in the VFL as well during the final series as he was trying to get back into that side. But yeah, it's clear as mud, really. And we had Stephen King, the midfield coach for the Cats, up on Thursday morning, and we asked him, what the ruck sort of situation was looking like. He sort of said it was a little bit of everything, a little bit of maybe a Reece Stanley, Sam De Koning. He mentioned Mitch Edwards as well as a player who could potentially play this year, but they're probably going to more focus him as more of a development player, but he has turned heads during the preseason. But Sam De Koning, obviously a really interesting one at a pretty decent price. But I had some super coaches, changing some super coaches in my replies today when I think Skodfather came in and was asking about SDK and whether he would be solo ruck. But I think if you are picking him, you're picking him, knowing that he could go to centre half back at any time, whether that's, during a game or the next week. So I think he's not a nailed on ruck this stage. Obviously the practice matches will tell us a bit more about that, but I don't think you can be picking him with any confidence. It's more just thinking, okay, he's got some huge upside. If he does end up taking more than, say, 50 or 60% ruck, then he could get some big scores as he did last year. But it's far from a guarantee, especially when we don't know the plans and even whether they'll play Reece Stanley.
And Toby Conway is out indefinitely with a slipped disc after coughing in bed.
Yeah, well, that sort of tells the story for Toby Conway throughout his career so far. Only 23 games at VFL and AFL level for him in his first 3 seasons at the Cats. He's had 2 foot stress fractures in his foot. One of those he had surgery on in the off season. But yeah, Stephen King said today that it was the back injury that he's been nursing throughout the preseason, and we're even cautious with him last year. Obviously, as we know, a lot of super coaches picked him up as a rookie and he'd be in 1 week, out the other, and only play sort of a couple of weeks in a row when Reece Stanley was out. Well, yeah, it seems like he's hardly trained. From what I've seen, he's hardly completed. I don't think he has completed match simulation at all this preseason. So, I mean, that's a positive sign for Sam De Koning that he could potentially ruck a bit more. But then again, in their match simulation on Friday, which was recorded on YouTube, there was Mitch Edwards, there was Reece Stanley, and there was Sam De Koning going at ruck contest. But Sam De Koning was also in defence. So, yeah, try and figure that one out.
I have to ask you about Max Holmes. Where has he been training? What sort of role can we expect from him in 2025?
Well, I asked Stephen King about this too, whether he would continue playing that midfield role that he dominated in the finals for the Cats. And he said that really he'll be probably playing a similar role to last year. He said, I think what Max gives us, he's a key part of our team and what we're trying to do. So if we need a spike anywhere in the ground, I think there's another option. I think that's another option. We'll try and put him there. He's pretty explosive. He's great around the footy, but he's also pretty dominant at halfback as well for us. So I think you'll see Max play a couple of different roles for us, and he's excited by that. And Max has said himself that he's happy to play wherever Chris Scott needs him. So again, the proof may be in the pudding in the practice games. If he does play, say, 60 or 70% midfield, then you could probably pick him and just hope. But there's no guarantee that he will stay there. And he still did score quite well. As a defender, he scored really well as a midfielder, particularly in the final series, particularly that game against Port Adelaide in the qualifying final. So it's going to be interesting to see where he lines up. I'd say it's more likely to be more midfield than defence, but you look at the Cats' options there. Lawson Humphries is coming through. Tom Stewart, not necessarily a rebounder. They might look to him every so often.
Yeah, you mentioned Tom Stewart there. From round 16 last season, he was used kind of in a midfield role to get away from the tag. And so do you think that's set to continue?
Well, it was another one that, along with Holmes, he did sort of mention Tommy Stewart, how they do have that flexibility to throw him into the midfield. But yeah, as you say there, he was sort of starting at stoppages. He'd lay some tackles or whatever. Then he'd sort of drift back and be able to take those intercept marks. He was sort of playing more of a pure intercept role in that preliminary final against the Lions. Took a few key intercepts right at the start of the game. And yeah, he looked to be in super form from round 16 or 17 onwards. So some big scores in there. And I think the big thing with him as well, he's only 521K, but he's also got that was including that injury affected score in round 24 where he only scored about 30. So you're getting him at a bit of a discount. He's obviously better equipped to deal with those hard tags as they come. And when you've got guys like Max Holmes and Bailey Smith, you've got more dangerous options that teams might be looking to stop. So that works in his favour as well. Obviously, the bye doesn't work in his favour. But if he goes big in opening round, I think I'm probably going to be starting Tommy Stewart. Obviously, been a Supercoach staple for years. And yeah, as I said, comes at a discount.
All right, let's move to the other end of the ground. Jeremy Cameron is without Tom Hawkins this season. Obviously, Hawkins retired, but Shannon Neal really started to show that he could take that role, especially towards the back end of last season. How is the Geelong forward line shaping up?
Yeah, it's another interesting one. Sean Manor is facing a delayed start as well to the 2025 season. Has been hampered by a foot injury. And he's had limited training over the preseason, so we might not see him early. Jack Martin is another forward and a very good price in Supercoach, 150K. Would Manor's injury potentially open the door for Martin? Well, Stephen King said today on Martin that it was touch and go for opening rounds. He has been completing a bit of match sim and quite a bit of training, but I think the Cats are really, conscious of trying to prepare him for the whole season, not just block at the start of the year. So, even if he does play opening round or round one, he might get dropped or rested the next weeks, which is not great. It sort of stunts our cash generation. So you probably only would jump on him if he's going really big and probably after he's played a couple of games and you're confident that he's going to consistently play. But yeah, so he's another forward line option. Jeremy Cameron, I mean, for your draft, he's always pretty decent, especially when he can go on those really strong runs. The Cats have a bit of a difficult, I'd say a more difficult first 8 rounds. So if you're wanting to look to jump on a Jeremy Cameron in Classic, it's definitely towards the back end when they have got a bit of an easier draw and quite a few games at GMHBA to finish the season as well. They got that extra home game, which was locked in by the AFL late last year. So yeah, in terms of the other forward options, it's probably going to be pretty similar, I think. Martin might be the only one coming in, but yeah, Sean Manor set to be sidelined for the early rounds at least. How about you, Damo? Would you be picking Jack Martin if he's there in opening round, do you think?
I mean, the unknown of his injury history and his fitness probably means no. 150K though. He's in the ballpark of a lot of the other rookies, so you probably could select him and then move if you had to. But at the moment, no, I don't think I'm going there.
Ted Closey is actually another rookie option as well, just in the forward line, who has been mentioned fleetingly as sort of one of the guys who's impressed across the preseason. He's only played a few games, all of those as a sub, so he's at a discounted price. But yeah, he's probably going to be playing that pressure forward role.
So you've mentioned a couple of rookie-priced players there, but we've also got the likes of Connor O'Sullivan, Mitch Nevitt, and are those guys going to get opportunities early on, or any other rookies that you haven't mentioned making some noise?
I think Nevitt's a fair chance, and King was saying today he's not a guy who likes to, pump players' tires up or put pressure on them or or anything like that. But yeah, he said that he's someone now I think that is ready to take his chance, and we're going to need players like him to raise the floor in our program to take the next step to be a premiership team again. So he's just, there's been a long list of people pumping Mitch Nevitt this preseason. You ask any player at the Cattery, who's been the standout, and it's just Mitch Nevitt, instantly. So yeah, 193 centimetre midfielder. He's 150k in Supercoach. Only played the 4 games last year. One of those was as a sub when he played about 2 minutes of the game against Adelaide there as a late in. So, and he has really good junior numbers as well in that inside midfield role. I remember watching him when he was part of the Geelong Falcons, and he was a high clearance, high tackle numbers, and that's what he produced in the VFL Grand Final last year. Posted 224 points, 38 disposals, 10 clearances, 10 tackles. It was pretty much a quadruple double from him, and he absolutely dominated in a loss there against Southport. So I really like him. He's on my bench currently. I might be a little bit biased because I've followed him and seen his preseason firsthand, but yeah, it sounds like it's not just optimism. There's a thought that he can genuinely crack into that opening round side, but obviously he'll have to perform in the practice matches.
Averaged 103 in 16 games in the VFL, so very impressive. Definitely can find the footy and use it to a good Supercoach score, so someone to keep an eye on. All right, finally, and probably most importantly, Bailey Smith. A lot of excitement, but we've also been warned to temporary expectations. What have you seen on the track, and what are we likely to see from him?
So he was held back before Christmas, but I mean, you wouldn't be able to tell because he just trains like a maniac out there. He's got really good intensity. Cats players have lauded him for improving training standards at the club. And it was interesting, Stephen King today, when asked about his role, there's been a few sort of players when there has been saying it'll be a variety of things, and you just think that might be a bit of spin. Danger early on in the preseason said he'll just be playing inside midfield, but Stephen King today, obviously being the midfield coach, he said, I think Bailey is someone who is unique, where he can play inside and outside. So for us, I think we'll just tap into that. I think you'll see him play inside, bit of wing, bit of forward, try and just spin the numbers through the midfield of the ground a little bit, which is the sort of wording that, it sort of causes the alarm bells to go off for super coaches. But yeah, I think no matter where he plays, he's going to be around the ball, whether that's, as he said, inside midfield on the wing or sort of as a high half forward. And we know he covers the ground so well. From what I've seen on the track, his kicking still needs a bit of work, and especially, under pressure or in just like little drills, he will occasionally miss a target sort of blazing away. But I don't think it's going to matter at that price. He's going to find so much of the footy, especially as a forward as well. I think he's still a great option, even if there is a little bit of a question mark on his role.
All right. Thanks for all that information, Dan. Where can people find you?
Yeah, just on Twitter at Dan Batten _ or the Geelong Advertiser or the Herald Sun, and it will be popping up on the Rookie Bible as well. I realised as well, I didn't answer your question on Connor O'Sullivan. I think he's one who'll get more opportunity this year, just whether that's early or remains to be seen. But I think he's another one who's impressed track watchers and teammates across the preseason. 198 centimetres, has built a bit more size, probably going to be playing key back. So if one of those key defenders or halfbacks go down, he might be a better chance of breaking in.
Excellent. This has been Track Watchers, brought to you by the Footy Mailbag. Head to thefootymailbag.net for all the links to our socials.